I will be taking it out there with the, hello, there's balance for you. Hey guys, Joe here. Thank you so much for checking out this video on the Glock 17 full size. If you're new to the channel and you like this kind of video, why don't you consider giving me a thumbs up and maybe subscribing. You'll also find some affiliate links down in the description, both for Amazon and Liberty Arms, as well as a link to my Patreon page. If you become a Patreon, you can help influence the way the channel grows. As the title and the gun in front of you suggest, today we are looking at the Glock 17 full size. In the interest of full disclosure, this is my pistol. I purchased it. It is mine. It is not a loaner like some of the guns I tend to look at are, because I can't afford to buy every kind of gun in the world as much as I would like to. But I decided finally to get back into Glocks. And when I say get back into Glocks, let me take a quick second aside and tell you my history with Glocks. I have owned one other Glock. It was my fourth gun. It was a Glock 27 small frame 40 cal. Needless to say, as only my fourth gun and I had never fired a compact pistol before in 9, 40, 10, whatever the caliber you may think of, I didn't enjoy the experience. So unfortunately, I associated Glock with bad compact gun experience. And that's my fault. I accept full responsibility for that. So I went the next 2.5 years never even considering a Glock. Well, that brings us back to this one. This is a used Glock. They still make the Gen 4s, but I bought this one as a used piece. It came into the store, and I was thinking about it, and I really couldn't think of another gun that I really needed or wanted or thought would be good to keep in the collection for comparison and testing reasons. And then a 17 happens to walk through the door. We didn't have any 17s. We had 19s, 45s, and the slimlines, and the 23s, and all the small ones too. So I went ahead and decided to buy this one just so I have a full-size Glock for testing purposes and comparison purposes, and because they are considered very reliable. And for a carry piece, it might supplant my 1911. Might. For those of you that aren't familiar with the channel, this is my 1911. I've owned 7, 8, maybe even 9 1911s, and of them all, this one has been by far my favorite. This is a Para Ordnance 1911 chambered in 45 ACP, and it is clear. And it has been my favorite gun to date. I'm a 1911 fan. I'm a full-size gun fan. This tripped all those buttons. However, I do acknowledge the quality, reliability, and fundamental positives of owning a Glock 17, which you'll have to wait for the next video that's coming out where I tout them. I'm going to set this one down now. So even though this gun was used, it did come in its original Glock box. However, it only had 2 of the 3 mags and no speed loader. Not surprised. That's not my hair. I'm not blonde. Not surprisingly, it doesn't look like the brush or the rod was ever used on this firearm. Maybe he had another cleaning kit, not sure. I will say that it doesn't look like a lot of rounds have been through this firearm. However, it was pretty carboned up, so I doubted he cleaned it much. He probably just bought it, took it out, shot it, and that was it. It does have its original books, manuals, all that stuff. Huh. Hey Glock, it's not wasted. Somebody actually opened one. But other than that, it's absolutely stock inside. So let's go ahead and put this back where it belongs and should stay for the rest of its existence. Yeah, there you go. There you go. No gun lock because, quite frankly, I don't need one. I have extras here at the house, so I let them keep it. Box aside, let's take a look at the gun. As I said, it was lightly used. The only wear that I see is here on this side of the slide, which means that it was probably going into a Kydex or a heavy leather holster, and he was putting it in at an angle. So maybe he was appendix carrying it, or he was on the side and he just liked to tilt his body out of the way and then slide it in this edge first. I personally probably do the same thing, but I don't see any wear on that one. Otherwise, it is pretty darn clean. There's no real damage to it. Sights on this gun. These are factory style Glock sights. They're actually factory Glock sights. They're just not the original ones to this gun. This gun came in, it had a Trijicon front sight and blacked out rear sight. We took those sights off because my buddy wanted them for his gun, as well as it really didn't help the resale value of a used Glock. Since I bought the Glock, we are going to be putting those sights back on this gun because I prefer a front dot blacked out rear for speed shooting. Aside from that, everything appears to be bone stock. The slide release, the mag release, the trigger, everything appears to be as it was. This one does have the beaver tail backstrap on it. I believe this is the biggest backstrap that was available for them. I put that on there. It was originally on it. We took it off. I put it back on there because I like it. It helps prevent slide bite, but it also gives me a memory spot for my hand. I don't have the problem with slide bite that people of, let's say, more generous proportions have. I just prefer it for the way it makes it fit into my hand. The magazines. This is a full-size pistol, so it does have 17 round magazines. And you could put these into a 19. They will lock in. They just stick out a little bit. What I like about them is that they are drop-free. They're very well built. They have a metal follower inside, unlike some of the aftermarket ones. And they're just clean. I actually really like a clean mag. And I don't mind a polymer mag as long as it has a metal insert. So, that's nice. Let's go ahead and pop the top off this thing and take a look at it. One of the benefits to a Glock over a 1911 is its ease of maintenance. Field stripping this thing is as simple as 3 maneuvers. Before we do that though, I will once again show you the gun is clear. Nothing in it there, nothing in it there. No chance of accidentally, you know, putting a hole in my computer screen. Go ahead and drop the slide. Now, step 1, grab the slide and pull it back. Just a little bit, doesn't have to come back far. Step 2, take 2 fingers because this piece is on both sides and needs to come down equidistant on both sides. Pull down on that. That is your slide lock. It's actually called a slide lock. Look it up in the Glock book. Step 3, release and pull the trigger. Boom. Boom. Glock apart. Now that you have the top off, it's as simple as popping out the guide rod and the barrel. There you have it, field stripped Glock 17. Most Glocks will field strip the exact same way. Some of the very early generation Glocks do not have a captive guide rod. This one does. One thing I will point out on this particular gun is that this one has an aftermarket steel triple spring captive guide rod. Gen 1, Gen 2s tend to have uncaptive ones. I'm not sure on Gen 3. I know Gen 4 and Gen 5 have captive guide rods. This one is a stainless steel aftermarket piece. Now, there is lots of debate out there as to whether or not a stainless steel guide rod is worth it, or if it should be done, or if it makes any difference at all. There are camps that say absolutely, it makes a ton of difference, it makes the gun completely different. There are camps that say no, it's absolutely worthless, there's no reason to do it. Quickly, let's talk about what the stainless steel guide rod will do. It will help prevent flex in hot situations. That comes with a caveat. You have to put a lot of rounds through a Glock to get it hot enough to bend the guide rod. Period. There's no other joke to be made. There's nothing else to really say about it. You have to put a ton of rounds through a Glock to get it hot enough to flex and warp a plastic guide rod. So, does that mean this shoots any different? Not sure. This actually has triple springs in it. So this one might be stiffer than a stock one. I'll have to actually get a stock spring and maybe do a comparison. It's actually a good idea for a video. Thank you guys. The barrel, very typical Glock barrel. This is the original barrel because being a Glock, everything is serialized, even though this was imported or made directly for the US market. That's why it says USA and not Austria. Barrel, slide, and frame are all the same serial number, which means this Glock is original other than the guide rod. The barrel condition, again, I don't think he shot it much. I just think he didn't know how to clean it correctly, but otherwise it's in excellent shape. Looking inside the frame, it is typical Glock, and by that I mean it is well designed, it works, it's going to last, it's going to be reliable. Typically when you see a Glock really have problems is when somebody monkeys with it. I intend to monkey with it. I'm going to be putting an Apex flat trigger in this one if I like the way it shoots. Other than that, I don't intend to change much. I do appreciate that Glocks have metal rails. That's a very important thing to me when it comes to having a polymer gun. I've seen polymer guns where the front of the rails will chip off, warp, or break due to the slide actually catching it just slightly off and just breaking the rail. Having a metal rail ensures that you have a longer life out of the frame. Now this is all removable just by knocking out some roll pins, but I don't want to go through the effort of having to change all the parts of my gun. Plus the frame is serialized here in the United States, so if I decided to do something I'd have to actually get a new serial number. Yes, those 4 components are all you need to take off in order to field strip a Glock. Reassembly is just as easy. Take your barrel, insert your barrel. Take your guide rod, insert your guide rod. Now, there are 2 pedestals. It's kind of hard to see, but anybody that's ever reassembled a Glock will know this first spot is not the correct spot for the spring. It needs to be down on the bottom part of that pedestal underneath the barrel so that the spring is flush and straight. If it isn't, when you reassemble the gun, you're going to have issues. When it comes time to reassemble, you just simply take your frame, you take your slide, and awkwardly on camera do this. Ta-da! That's all the pressure it takes to put a Glock back together. If you're pushing harder than that, something is not lined up right. Stop immediately because you could be bending the recoil spring or damaging something internally. Once you have it back together, you're good to go. So the point of this video was to introduce you to the new gun to the fleet. I did sell the Zastava, and I'm replacing it with this one. So technically you guys are a very big influence in what I'm buying, and while I did wind up having to use money I've earned at the store to pay for this, you guys still paid for about half of this, so this is like half your guys' gun. I'll say any part that breaks is your guys'. All the parts that work are my guys's. So that is the quick tabletop field strip and basic review of my new to me Glock 17 Gen 4. I will be taking it out to the range with my 1911 and doing a demonstration and shoot back to back with both guns, because as much as I like the educational portions, which is where I show you the gun, show you the internal, show you how to clean them, take them apart, how easy they are to work with, I also believe in showing demonstrations. There's a really cool dude here on YouTube. He goes by Paul Harrell. He has well over 300,000 subscribers. I'm sure if any of you are into guns, you've probably seen him in your recommended feeds. He believes in demonstration. I believe in demonstration. I approve of that, and I want to take these out and show what they actually shoot like. Nothing against armchair quarterbacks, but I feel first-hand demonstration is better than just speculation. So that's about it. If you like this video, don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Maybe hit the subscribe button down below. Share this with a friend. Use my links down below. Become a Patreon member. Help the channel grow. That way we can get more firearms to do comparisons and have some fun with. Maybe some rifles and a bazooka. Who knows? We'll see what happens. The next time you see this Glock, it will be at the range being shot alongside the 1911 so that I can give you my instant feedback. Look forward to that. Have yourselves a wonderful day. Tune in again, and as always, I will talk to you later.